Hey YouTubers, Rick from Rick's RC and more. I'm going to start part 2 of the M06 build here. I got the suspension on, front and rear. It tells you in the instructions, but when you're doing the rear suspension, you want to put the screws in for the bottom of the rear pogo shocks first, or you're not going to be able to get a screwdriver in there, and then you got to put it on the top. I didn't read the full part of the instructions, and I put the top one in first, had to take it back out. So far, again, the build's going well. I'm getting into the point now where I got to start mounting the servo and your electronics and stuff like that. So I'll start working on that. I got to. It came with the Tamiya ESC. It's a TBL 04S. I have a Hobby Wing 1060. I think I'm just going to throw that in it because I already got a Dean's connector on it. Whereas the Tamiya comes with a Tamiya end, and I don't care for those. I'm going to be running a 2S in this guy, and the 1060 has the low voltage cutoff, which I'm not sure. The Tamiya one may have that, but just for I'll keep it for a backup. If something's going on with my 1060, I'll throw the Tamiya one in. The Tamiya one that comes with it actually is, you can run brushless with it. Brushless or brushed motors with that one. But I'm going to be just running the stock brushed motor in this. So I'm going to figure out what I want to put in it for a servo. I have some servos kicking around. They're not the fastest, but I can upgrade that later. So I'll continue on here, and I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so I got a servo here. I picked the fastest one out of the 3 I had. It's actually an RC 4-wheel drive trail twister, so it should have enough torque. The speed might be a little slow, but like I said, I can upgrade that later. That's not an issue. Now, when you're setting this up, you want to zero that servo now. You're going to want to have your radio, your SC, and your receiver set up here. And turn on your radio, turn on your speed control. Oh, I don't have, all right, gotta connect the battery to this. Make sure your servo is working, and also make sure that your steering is centered. And then you mount the servo horn. Now, generally, depending on your kit, you generally, put it at a 90-degree angle. But the instructions here show you to have it 15 degrees the one way. Well, maybe one more tooth the other way for this guy. That looks about right. You should use Loctite while putting this in. I'll have to add a little Loctite to that. But once you got your servo set up, you can then shut everything off. And I wouldn't recommend tightening that screw down in with the servo on. It might be a little hard on your servo. I'm just hoping this will stay here. So I got that set where it's got to be. I'll get a little Loctite happening here. And just kind of get it started down in there and until it's just snug. And then we'll shut this off because we don't want to be torquing on that with the servo on, because that is hard on the servo. Unplug my battery. Unplug the servo here. receiver. All right, so now we can tighten this down. There's Loctite on there, so you don't need to crank it. And 15 degrees the one way according to the instructions. And next step will be to mount the servo on the chassis. I'll probably wind up upgrading this down. We'll see how it works. Doesn't seem like it takes much movement to steer this car. So you might not need a super fast servo. We'll see. I had this Tactic one here in my TT02, and it was really slow. This is off of a Red Cat crawler. It was slow as well. This one seemed to be the fastest. It's a RC 4-wheel drive twister, but it'll work for now. I'm gonna carry on here and see you in a little bit. All right, so I got the servo mounted. It is a chore where the wires come into your servo at the back here. There is a little squared off notch in there for the wiring, but then you gotta kind of run the wiring kind of down and underneath and then out and out the other side. It will take some fidgeting to get that in there and get it so you're not pinching your wires off. It's just a matter of getting the wires running through the right way. Once you got your servo in, if it's zeroed and everything's hooked up, you know, these should look relatively straight on each side. So we're pretty close there. Anything else, you can trim it out with your radio. That's not a problem. I was surprised that they didn't run this ball underneath, because it's quite the angle up there, but that perhaps might get in the way of loading the battery or something, so I'm sure there's a reason why they've done that. Next step's going to be actually mounting the electronics and then hooking up the motor and all that, and make sure everything works, and then we'll continue on with our build. All right, so with the slop and the steering, if you don't have shims, these parts here hold the part of the steering rack where you'd add the bearings. So what I'm doing is I'm just one way to get away with get the slop out of here is to take a little material off of here. So I have this little grinding stone, and I'm just kind of trial and error, sand a little off at a time, and you can get some slop out of that part of the rack. It's trial and error. Just take some off, kind of put it in place and see how much slop's still there. I got this one here, I got quite a bit of slop out of it. This one here still has lots. So you could just file this down. Well, you use sandpaper, a file, or a stone like I am. Either way, you can just gotta try to make sure you're keeping it flat. It'll be time consuming for sure, but you'll see the results in the long run. I still got to take quite a bit more off of that, so I'll do that off camera. There's probably some other spots you could shim in the steering rack. I'll continue on with this off camera and see if we can get it a little bit tighter. Okay, so after some tedious sanding and whatnot, I've got the I've got the steering pretty smooth, pretty tight. There's some back and forth play in the front lower control arms there. I'll have to shim them up. The back ones seem to be fairly decent. So, I mean, you're not going to get it perfect. If you are planning on racing this like I am, it's nice to have things a little tight to get the car go good and straight. So I'm going to put the front end back together now, and I don't know, maybe look at those bottom control arms. All right, I got the electronics all installed here. My motor is going backwards, so I can either change out these leads or reverse it on the controller. I'll have to see, because sometimes, yeah, it's faster in reverse than forward, so we'll definitely have to figure that out. But yeah, ESC's on, receiver's on there, and steering servo works. It is a little slow, but like I said, we can upgrade that later. It's not a problem. I'm going to, so I didn't have the proper shims for the front A arms. One's got a little more slop than the other, but that's okay. We can deal with that down the road. I'm going to continue on with the build here, and body post and whatnot, and that'll be the end of part 2, and then we'll probably move on to part 3, which would be the body. I can't wait. So I'll add body post and whatever on here, and I'll see you then. All right, so moving along here. One of the questions I kind of had, and I didn't really was able to find a whole lot on the internet, was, can you fit a 2S LiPo hard pack in these? And the M06 chassis, yes, you can. That is a 4500 milliamp hour 2S LiPo. And it fits in there good and snug. Just enough room. The wires there. Now these LiPo packs, wires kind of come up here in the corner, so that might help a lot. There's the wheels on it. If you're building one of these, you will notice it tells you in the instructions the rear tires are a softer rubber. They have a number 2 in the sidewall. You can tell by the feel as well. I haven't glued them yet. I just put them on, and I'll kind of work them in a little bit before I glue them. So I still have my body post and stuff to put on. I'm just kind of going along here, and I might fire it up and try it out and rip around a little bit without the body and adjust my trims and whatnot. All right, so the chassis, suspension, electronics, everything, it's all in the car. Everything works. I adjusted my trims and everything. So now it's just gonna be a matter of getting onto the body. Everything works as it should. Just hook this battery up. They show you in the manual if you need to adjust your camber on these. That's just a matter of your upper threaded links there, adjusting them up. I did mine as per the manual, and everything looks good. They do have some toe in on the back wheels on these to help you go straight. So a little bit of play in the steering, but honestly, not enough for me to worry about at this point. Stuff does loosen up as you race these things, and then you can shim from there. But I mean, that's pretty good, really. So I'm going to end this as part 2, and part 3 will be going onto the body. I'm not sure when I'll get to that, but I still have to glue the tires. Like I said, I was just kind of ripping around the house, and yeah, the rear tires are notably a lot stickier. It seems to have a good turning radius too. So until part 3, everybody get out and enjoy your RCs.